Welcome home.
We're back. I literally just walked in. I'm about to mix up some Howard's blend, actually. Just got in from Fort Cavazos, used to be known as Fort Hood. Getting myself set up. Thank you for everybody who's here. Turn off the ringer and get to it. Shout out to everybody that was backstage. We're going to have some fun. I just want to make sure we're together. So, like always, first off, we're going to start with a shout out to Howard's blend. And I'm about to take some of this pre-workout actually right now. I'm going to take a few ounces of water, mix this up because we're going to have a real good show. We're going to have a strong show. So I got to make sure that I'm wide awake and I'm ready and I'm focused for this one. So that being said, shout out to Howard's Blend. Use the code HAHOMES and get yourself 10% off any of your orders. So with that being said, next up, shout out to my man Clarity. Sydney Claire, check out his merch. Check out what he's doing. He's out doing some big things for the community. More on him coming soon. We probably have to have him on season 3. But we're going to talk about that because this is the second to the last show. Next up, what we got? Oh, we were waiting for this one. Yeah, you want that red stripe. You got to get the red stripe. The red stripe got the color photos. Yeah, and the quality paper. You want to get this one with all the updates. Get yourself a copy of the book Fear. It's $25. The last one was $10, but with the color photos and all the upgrades, it's just a little bit more. $25. Proceeds from the book. All the proceeds from the book. All the proceeds from the book. I don't keep any of this money. All of the proceeds from the book go to the Mary Kemp Foundation. If you want to just donate money to the Mary Kemp Foundation, you can go ahead and do that too. 100% of your donations go to the causes that we support. All of the administrative fees are paid by your boy. You won't be paying any payroll, any overhead. All of that is taken care of by us. 100% of your donations go to the causes that we're supporting. So now let's see what we have up next. Tonight, we have a very, very interesting show. This is something that people talk to me about basically more than almost anything because it's such a hot topic. So tonight, we're going to talk about Airbnb. We're going to talk about short-term versus long-term. Now, I just want to show you. I'm only taking half a scoop. You don't even need the whole scoop to be wide awake and focused and fresh. So, pay attention to my tone as we go. Now, let's look at our poll from last week. So in our story, we were 7-1, and on our post itself, we were 5-8. So that's 6 out of 15. So we're basically looking at 21, 6, about 30% to about 70%. So 70% of the viewers or the followers are interested or feel like their wealth would be better, develop, their portfolios would be better going with long-term holds. I'm just going to make sure because today we have a special guest. A lot of times we take callers and people who want to join us and this, that, and the third. So I'm waiting to see if she's here or backstage. And if not, we're gonna keep it moving. I'm going to show you what we got. So I'm going to introduce her, not necessarily with the official photo first. Nova, let's bring up the flyer. Let's do some promotion. Okay, so June 8th, if you're in town, if you're in Central Texas, if you're in Killeen, we're going to run it back. We're going to run back the Best of Bell County, where you're going to get to learn about wholesale, Airbnb arbitrage. You're going to get to learn about crowdfunding. You're going to get to learn about investing. You're going to get to learn about buying homes and selling homes, VA home loan benefit, all from people who are specialists in their individual fields. And if you look at the photograph, the young lady who is sitting just behind me, her name is Lakeisha Herrera. Now, I'll give you a little bit of about who Keisha is before she gets here. She was running around just like me. I literally just got back in from Fort Hood. Shout out to all the soldiers out there. Thank you for your service. Keisha's here. She's ready. Keisha, thank you for tuning in. Come backstage. Use the other link. And as Keisha's coming backstage, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about Keisha. Hold on 1 second. Nova, could you drop the link on here so Keisha can get backstage? Keisha, if you can hear me, it was sent to you, I think, on Instagram, but we'll send you the link now. So we can have two guests, actually, it seems, because we have alternate perspectives on this. So shout out to my brother, Coach Lee, my man Isaiah. If you want to join backstage too, you're more than welcome to come backstage so we can have a real good discussion. So as we're getting everybody set up backstage, I want to set the tone. This isn't an argument. This isn't right or wrong. It's none of that. This is pros and cons on either side so that when you decide to make your decision, you know who to call so that you can be walked through the process and you can get coaching so you don't lose your shirt. So first, I'm going to bring up my brother Isaiah. Let's bring him up first, Nova. So if you guys follow us on the gram, I think if you check out the story, you can still actually see his photograph. We actually officially was able to take our picture yesterday.
Yep.
I was just with this brother on Fort Hood working with all those soldiers. I just posted. I'll let him give a little bit of his background. Let me touch on the military and whatever how we came together. But basically the floor is yours. Thank you for being here. It's kind of impromptu, but we've been seeing a lot of each other the last couple of days since I've been back home and he came back from the field. So welcome, bro.
Yeah, man. First off, can you hear me before we go?
100%.
Okay,
We literally normally we have a backstage setup. He just got in. I literally just got in.
Okay.
We came from the same place. So floor is yours, bro.
So appreciate everybody joining. I appreciate you for allowing me to get on today. I'm Isaiah. Basically, to sum me up, I'm a dad. I got 3 kids. Married to my wife. We're both actively serving in the Army. I've only been hip to money probably the last couple of years. And I don't know, I just been awakened. I would say just being exposed to real estate, just buying a house and selling a house and the appreciation for me doing nothing is kind of what drove me to be like, there's got to be more. I did a little bit of Airbnb about 6 months ago. I'm more inclined to talk about it as the show goes along. But that's pretty much who I am.
Well, thank you. Thank you again for joining. And thank you for participating in today's event over on Fort Cavazos. We'll move on. Let's see if we got Keisha backstage. Keisha, you there? But before we bring her up, I want to do her brand introduction. Let's bring up her photograph, Nova. So we have Miss Lakeisha Herrera, the founder of Coaching Your Greatness. She helps clients form LLCs. She guides them through the process. She's a serial entrepreneur. She's an investor, also a client. She's one of the inspirations for my clients. Clients have clients because her clients have clients, and we got clients. I'm gonna let her add on to a little bit more about what she's doing, but she's one of the biggest movers and shakers out here in Central Texas. She's pretty much running an Airbnb game. She teaches arbitrage and so much more. So let's bring on Keisha. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you. Is there anything you want to tell everybody about yourself before we jump into this vicious debate?
I think you covered it all.
All right. So I'll brag for you a little bit more. Keisha got properties in different states, doing her own thing. She's making it happen. All of her links and everything will be in our write-up. And we'll jump right in. So I'm gonna set the stage. I know both of you guys have seen the show, but for any first-time viewers, because we made a lot of connections today, I seen the Instagram following go over, so I want to explain the rules. So one more time. So this is a discussion. It's not an argument. It's not about right or wrong. It's about pros and cons on both sides. Keisha has a lot of experience with Airbnbs. Myself personally, I don't invest in Airbnbs, which I'll start with why when I'm done with this, just so we're clear on why myself personally I don't do it. Isaiah, we were together yesterday, about 2 hours together with our onboarding, and he shared all his experiences and what he has going on, his podcast, his crew, everything that he's doing with his crowdfunding efforts. So I thought that both Keisha and Isaiah would be great to have this discussion. And we're just going to share highs and lows, strengths and cons on both sides. So for myself, I don't personally invest in Airbnbs because at my level of investment and at my stage in life, I'm super old. I'm a grandpa. I just turned 41.
You're not old.
I don't want to invest in things that require my time. I only want to invest in things that are passive or 99 or 95% passive. So I don't manage my own rental properties. I have a property manager for that. Well, property managers, because we have properties in different states, but there's only one I'm going to shout out. Shout out to Lisa Marie, MCG Homestead. If you need something in Central Texas, holla at Lisa Marie. But that's my sole reason for not doing Airbnb. We'll get into the money and all this, that, and the third. But I will start off by saying, if we were going to compare, and Keisha, Isaiah, how either one of you guys can answer, comparing just long-term versus short-term rental, would you say that long-term rental is a lot more, because it's not 100% passive, it's a lot more passive than managing your own Airbnbs?
It depends.
Yeah, I was gonna say it depends, because you can have managers for your Airbnb. I don't operate my Airbnb. I have a manager and a cleaning team in place. It's been about 6 months since I've been to my Airbnb, so it can be passive. Because I do both, and I agree with you, Hussein. Definitely, I'm not so sold on Airbnb where that's my main source. I definitely prefer the long-term rental in a sense, because Airbnb is it has a lot of ups and downs. And to some degree, if you're not careful with what's the word I'm looking for, with streamlining everything, then you can pretty much spend more in Airbnb and pretty much make the same amount as you would make in long-term rental.
Okay, Isaiah, would you like to add?
Yeah, so agreed. Obviously, if you have a management team, and if you can really leverage your cleaning team, because the cleaning team is more of a property manager than anything else. They're the ones that have eyes on your property all the time. If you have a solid team, it can be streamlined. They have management companies out here. You pay them a portion. They'll do everything for you. All your job, they will literally list it for you on Airbnb, VRBO, bookingonline.com, and you just get your check. So it depends on how far you want to scale. If you're someone with like lesser capital and you're just trying to get into the short-term rental arbitrage game, you can do it with about $5 to $7 grand. You're not buying Ashley's furniture, right? You're getting it off Facebook Market. You can get it, and it's a great way to get something going to build cash flow temporarily, right? The problem with be long-term, it's a fire that you always have to tend to, right? You're constantly tweaking your stuff, your photos, to make you more relevant. Your tags, the way that you describe the property. So it's something that if you have the time, I believe Airbnb, you can crush the game, but you have to have a team. You got to have that management team. You got to have a solid cleaning crew that is giving you that feedback that you need so that your properties do well.
Yeah. And to add to that, I would say there's two different types with the Airbnb. So I have a rental arbitrage, which is I rent an apartment or house and
Right.
basically put it on a platform. They allow me to have a corporate lease, but I also have my own property. The amount of money that you make between the two are very different because with my own property, I'm paying a mortgage. And of course, we know mortgage is cheaper than rent. So I make way more money from my property that I own when I do the Airbnb, and I make more money than the long-term rentals. But on the arbitrage side, it's not as much.
Okay.
So
I'm sorry to cut you. There's a lot. It's
go ahead,
so
go
much.
ahead.
Let's tease it apart because this is why I bring on the pros because for all this free game. So hold on 1 second. Let's just go back. Let's tease it apart and let's break it into two parts because I have time.
Oh, gotcha.
Right. So no, it's fine. We're transitioning. This is dope. I plan on not saying too much. So what happens is time. So let's take it as a MLO, right? Like sorry, not MLO, IRO, an independent operator, right? So let's say we didn't have management.
Okay.
If you didn't have a property manager for your long-term rental, and if you didn't have a property manager for your short-term rental, we would all agree that in terms of time invested, Airbnb is like a full-time job where long-term rental is like a part-time job, right?
Right.
So if we're talking about time, long-term rental wins. They get the check.
Yes,
okay.
I will agree with that.
So now let's move on to property management. We all agree that if you have a good property manager, because I've had properties where if it's in a certain neighborhood or whatever, there's turnover, there's something always breaking if it's older. I agree. Both can have pros and cons. But now let's talk the cost of that, and then we could move into arbitrage because that's the game. I want you to give the game. So from what I was told, and you guys stop me if I'm wrong, for long-term rentals, the property management fee is usually 8 to 10%. It could be 12 depending on the neighborhood or whatever, but usually it's 8 to 10 being like the median number. And for Airbnb, it's 20%.
That's what I paid. Yeah.
Keisha?
No, probably I'm more like 12. I negotiated my amount.
Okay, so let's say this, because then I want that game too. Because I'm sure there's people who want whatever, and then I'm gonna refer them to you for or the Airbnb questions, because that's what you're doing in town. You said you got it down, but typically 15.
Yeah, typically it's 20 to 35%. Yeah.
So
I've seen people charge that amount.
Me too. So I was splitting the baby. I was going 10 and 20, but if you want to bring it up to 25, you're only making my side stronger. So
yeah, no, that's the honest truth though. Like to be full transparent, that is true. If you get a manager to manage your team, now keep in mind with Airbnb, there's several different levels of management. So you got your QC person, or you have somebody that literally does everything. Like they manage the communication, they manage your staff, they manage literally the entire platform. They manage for you where you're hands off. So that will range, that 25 to 35%.
And that's
for sure.
They have the discounts with Rent-A-Center or the different places. And then the last thing, because I want to move, we could go whichever direction y'all want to go. And I know that this video is so far is listed as Airbnb versus, but Isaiah brought up this Vrbo, there's booking, there's all these different entities, but people don't understand that it's short-term rental. They understand that it's Airbnb, but we're talking all short-term rentals, okay? So let's go back to your point, Keisha. Do you want to get into arbitrage? You want to give the game an arbitrage, or do you want to get into the...
That's fine. However you want to flow.
So let's talk about, because you broke into the corporate lease. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let y'all go. And then if there's a point where I want to clarify, I'll ask you to clarify, because I know people like this are like taking notes. Just watch the video twice. Right. Talk to me about Airbnb arbitrage. And you teach this. There's a course you have. You teach this.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the intro. Go.
Okay, so with Airbnb arbitrage is basically In general terms, you subleasing is what you're doing. You're legally subleasing because we know you cannot legally do it. But when you get a corporate lease, then they allow you to sublease the unit. And from there, you just upload in the platform as if it was your personal property and make it turn it into an Airbnb. Now, the downsides of that is that if a company, for instance, let's say you decide to get an apartment at an apartment complex, right? If management changes at the apartment complex and that apartment complex does not want Airbnb anymore, then you have to shut your Airbnb down. So that's why rental arbitrage, in my opinion, is kind of like a very vital part of Airbnb. However, it's really, really good if you can get in it because most people can't afford to buy a home at that time. So it's a low bearing way of getting into real estate in some form.
So I want to clarify two things just so we get the vernacular right for people who are brand new to investing. And then Lee, I want you to share your piece that we talked about yesterday about the another downside of the arbitrage section. So we're talking corporate lease versus regular residential lease. Does anybody want to take that on? Like, what's the difference? Some of the differences, or would you like me to add to that?
You're using your LLC to establish a lease with the property owner or the whoever's managing the apartment complex, wherever the property is, and
right.
So your personal name, Isaiah, to go and get this lease, I'm going to use my business to go and get this lease. And usually corporate leases, they're shorter usually, year, maybe 2 years if you're lucky. And yeah, I'll just stop there and maybe she can add on or cover anything I didn't get.
No, that's pretty much exactly what it is. It's just a lease in your business name instead of in your personal name.
Okay, so I just want to add this. I honestly don't know, so I'm just asking.
Okay.
Do you have to have an LLC in order to have a corporate lease?
I believe so. I don't know the exact word answer for that, but usually when you want to have an LLC to do anything, just to protect yourself, and if you're going to use an LLC, then you would have to use a corporate lease because you couldn't use your own personal name, or else what's the purpose of having an LLC?
Okay, Keisha, do you have to have an LLC to do it, to have a corporate lease, or no?
Yes. To have a corporate lease, you have to have an LLC. It's pretty much in the name, corporate. It's for a business.
Okay, and I'm only asking, here goes why. Because people have DBAs, doing business as. So you could be doing business as HAHOMES, and you could still have an EIN. Or you could, because EIN is 9 digits, the social is 9 digits. I'm saying that also being devil's advocate because some people may not want an LLC. Just throwing it out there. So you could do and put it in under a corporate name and file it a certain way because it depends on the landlord. Because some landlords may not know. A lot of people didn't know about arbitrage. Actually, Nova, the person producing the show right now, making sure everything's going good, she put me up on arbitrage. She was like, "What you think about this?" And I was like, "Man, that's a good idea." I was like, me personally, I don't really do a lot of. I have everybody around me, and then they bring it, and then we tease it apart. So let's get past that piece. But I want to add a couple more lines about the difference between a corporate lease and a regular residential lease. So the corporate lease, the corporation, think about like with a storefront. You're responsible for the build out. You're responsible for all the repairs. Is that true in your arbitrage leases?
So some of them are different. It depends. So like if it's at an apartment complex, then no, you're not responsible. But if it's someone's personal resident or if you're dealing with more of an individual person, then yeah, you would be responsible for everything.
So that's something that you guys make those notes. And the other thing with a corporate lease, because like I remember when I rented my office, right? So when you have a residential, normally they maybe want like first month down, first and last. Security deposit usually matches your rent, or it's like 80 cents on the dollar, something like that. So like if your rent is 1,000, your deposit could be 800. If you have bad credit, maybe they'll do double whatever. But with a corporate lease, normally they ask you for a larger deposit.
Sometimes, but all of that is negotiable.
Right. But
Yeah,
I just
for general, yes,
so when
yes.
I bring that up so that when people go in, if they've never done this or if they don't know about a corporate lease, and then again, let's keep the rent 1,000 just to make the conversation simple, and they walk up to somebody and like, oh, you're a corporation. Okay, I need 3 months down and I need a double deposit, and you're like, wait, I got 800 credit. Why do I need that? It's because that's typical for corporate leases, and it's
Yeah.
also typical that you have to fix everything, but you can negotiate it backwards. But usually it's something you got to negotiate back. Typically, it's already in the corporate write-up.
Right. So, like I said, it all depends on which route that you're going to go. And real quick, somebody asked the question, was arbitrage? So do you want me to answer that first, or?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what we're here for. One more. Everybody ask these questions, and Nova will bring them up. Don't feel like you cutting anybody off. That's what we're here for.
Okay.
Ask the questions. Yeah, you got it.
Okay. So arbitrage is basically you using someone else's property to rent out. That's all it is. It's subleasing. It's a fancy word for subleasing. That's what arbitrage is. So to go back to your question on with the corporate lease, yes, you can put pretty much you can negotiate whatever terms that you would like, but for a traditional corporate lease is normally a lot more upfront. It's just like if you're doing a business account with your electric company, they're going to charge you more for a business than what they do residential.
Right. So that everything. Yeah,
yeah.
everything. Loans are higher. Everything.
Yeah.
Lee, Isaiah, you want to share your? You can add on if you want to add on to that. But do you want to share your experience with your Airbnbs and what happened with your arbitrage?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk downsides real quick. So, for me, I got into the Airbnb game. I didn't want to do the LLC that would go get the lease and all. I didn't want to do that. So I found a super host, right? And I did a partnership with this guy out in Phoenix. And so his LLC was going and getting the leases. He was the guy on the ground working the deals. So there are ways to get into it as well, where you guys can form a partnership. You know somebody's doing it, and you can act as the investor, which is what I did. The only thing and the downside to that is you have to vet the people that you work with, right? This guy was a referral through a good friend of mine. And I mean, the ball started rolling. The excitement was there. We're going to get this apartment. Within the first month, we had an apartment that was fully furnished. We got our payouts. And then he found another property that had a pool. And so we're like, yo, the Super Bowl is going to be here in the next couple of years or so. So like the excitement was there. I had the contracts to support me. However, money became an issue, right? And so there were some discrepancies with the payouts. There were very exact numbers, right? And so, needless to say, I got burnt, right? Had I myself, I would have probably been okay. But I relied on someone's experience. I leveraged their network that they had, and I wanted to take I wouldn't say cheaper route because it wasn't cheap. I took the less time intensive route, and I paid for that, right? Did it put a bad taste in my mouth about short-term and arbitrage? Absolutely not, right? That was a bad decision that I made. But as far as the money that was made, I have no qualms about that at all.
Okay. So the other piece that we talked about specifically, you were telling me about the math on the arbitrage and like why the rates change or this, that, and the third, or if you get caught. You want to add to that?
Yeah. So we listed our property, and the first couple weeks, we weren't getting the bookings that we needed, right? And so a lot of times, what we did is we started offsetting the price per night just to make enough to pay the rent, to pay for water, electricity, and things like that. So if that's what you're referring to,
yeah,
right. And then you can also charge cleaning fees, right? That's where a lot of the money came from, was from the cleaning fees, because it felt like the bookings just to get the dollar amount, $100 a day or $100 a night. That was really just kind of covering the rent and the expenses, but we were able to capture our profit and the cleaning. We could charge $75, and every booking it was a $75 cleaning fee. So there's ways that you can really flex, if you're not making what you're expecting to make, because everybody has this great plan. We're going to get this Airbnb.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I got the perfect furniture, and boom, it gets on the market and nothing happens. Right. Quick tangent to that is the beautiful thing about short-term rental arbitrage is not as risk adverse, right? You still own that furniture at the end of the day. At the bare, you can always break a lease. You might have to come out of pocket a little bit of money, right? But you can always pick that furniture up and go put it in another location and try again, right? So that's why I was mentioning getting your furniture off Facebook Market, not going and buying $10,000, $15,000 worth of furniture, because you're going to be really upset and you're going to try to bank on your first unit making you this money back. You're going to be in the red the first couple months just because of the startup cost.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You really won't get your return on investment maybe 6 months, 8 months, and that's on a good time frame window in a nice area. So there's a lot more we could go into. Too much into tangents. I want to allow the questions and kind of the flow of conversation dictate, what I talk about.
Sure. So let's keep it going. So it's important that Isaiah brought that up, because we already know, and this is with pretty much everything in life, right? Trying to do something by yourself, if it's brand new to you, you're gonna fail. And failure means learn, right? It's the implementation dip. So trying to do something brand new, especially with your money, is very hard to do, because you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna try to find somebody. And that's why I make sure I bring you people like Keisha. I make sure I bring you people like Isaiah, who have different lanes, but they're helping people, they're coaching people. And if they're standing next to me, they're vetted. So they're not going to take your money. They're not going to mess you over. They're not going to make you lose money, because they have experiences themselves. And there's a network of us that make sure that we lift everybody else up. So I don't personally deal with Airbnb, but now you got Keisha's information. That's somebody you could reach out to. Isaiah has his setup, and we're going to talk about that later. More crowdfunding and this, that, and the third. Now you have somebody that you could talk to. Because I want to make sure that you have people to go to ask these questions. And if I don't know, I don't want to give you the answer, because I'm going to make sure your money's where it needs to be. You know what I'm saying? Working for you. So with that being said, I want to ask the audience one more time. If y'all have questions, ask now. There's nothing that you can ask that they're not going to want to share the answers to. Make sure you reach out. We're going to pay some bills. I want to take this time to take just a quick shout out to my man Tony. Streets lied to us. We have 2 people. All you had to do is drop a comment, and I would have got you the book. You would have had the book for free. There's 2 people who got the book for free. So shout out to Joshua, shout out to Mary. Your books are coming on the way. I'm gonna have Tony autograph them for you with personal messages, and y'all have your books in a couple weeks. Nova, let's run Howard's question. Let's run Howard's commercial. So if anybody has questions, they can bring them in, and we'll keep the conversation going. Isaiah. Okay, welcome back. We're going to bring up one question. So let's go with that one, Nova. All right, let's see. A lot of changes coming to Airbnb. Okay, so we're talking about cities and states or whatnot, counties, trying to stop Airbnb. And I'll put an article long ago, 4 or 5 years ago. New York City basically made Airbnb illegal in the 5 boroughs. Why was it illegal? Because there were so many hotels losing money. Hotel industry got a lot of pull in New York City. So long story short, what New York City did was if they found out that you were subleasing your apartment because it's illegal to lease under 30 days in New York City, the first fine was $1,500. The second fine was $7,500, and the third fine was $15,000. So they basically made it illegal because if they found your listing on anything, they'd penalize you. Now, I posted a couple weeks ago about the city of Killeen trying to charge a tax or a surcharge for people Airbnb here. So does anybody want to tackle that one?
So I actually went to that meeting the day that they made that ruling. So in Killeen, what it is you have to register your Airbnb, and what they were trying to do is once you register, anybody that wanted an Airbnb had to be, I think it was more than 200 feet away or something. Well, that became like a big issue because basically in Killeen, the idea is you do what you want with your property. It's your property, you do what you want with it. So what they did was they decided to take that ruling out so you can have an Airbnb right next door to you and it won't be a problem. The issue would be if it wasn't registered. So as far as it affecting us, it's really not going to affect us. Honestly, they just want you to register it.
What does registration entail? Is it like a fee? Do they do inspections?
They said that they may be doing inspections, but they haven't. They really don't have everything planned out. To be honest, it's new to them. I think from what I gathered when I went to the meeting, it appears that they feel like they're losing a lot of money as far as like in hotel tax, but Airbnb already charges us for that. Like that's like a new thing now where they're going to be charging hotel tax and they're going to be handling that process to whatever area that you're in. So they're not going to be able to double tax us for it. So that was established as well. So I don't know if they're going to charge like a fee, a registration fee, or if they're going to do like this strict inspection. They don't know. It's in the air. So I know one of the, there was a lady from Austin that works with that department. And she came to that particular city council meeting. And what she was explaining is that Killeen don't have the manpower to actually handle the inspections. So they have to find a way to work around that. So right now it's really just up in the air. I think we're supposed to register. It's in October is when the registration is supposed to start.
Okay, looking forward to that. Isaiah, you have anything you want to add? You were in Arizona with yours.
Arizona. So I lived in Colorado and I was working with the host out in Phoenix. But yeah, check your cities. A lot of times you have to have a permit. And then like you said, New York, obviously just can't, it's not going to happen. So check before you start going and buying furniture and getting ready to start your stuff up, go check with your city, like rules and regulations. And then, yeah.
Yeah, that's the first thing that I teach you. Make sure that you check those rules, because if you don't, you can put yourself in a bad predicament. But that's with any business. You got to know the business first before you jump in and do it.
I highly recommend this too. So I'm glad that Keisha has a course. Take people's courses, right? That investment should be part of your startup cost with Airbnb. You have to take somebody's class to get you right, to get you, really just focus. The conceptual, overarching picture seems easy. Get furniture, get leads, post pictures, you're done. It's way more than that, way more. And if you have a coach, I'm telling you, you're in that 10% versus that 90%, right? And you will, if you don't win, then you can work around how to, kind of get after some solutions to make sure that you're successful. But you have to have a coach in the Airbnb game for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We just had a comment from Carl Webb, and I believe that's what usually, this is what normally happens. They find a way to tax you, and basically what's going to happen is, like Keisha said, they don't have the manpower. So what does that mean? That Killeen is going to have a new division, and it's going to be 2 or 3 people, and they're going to have $50,000 salaries, plus their insurance and their perks, plus the cars. So that $300,000 that is going to cost to get all that up and running is going to be the $85 fee per door, the $150 fee per door. Hey, your Airbnb doesn't have screens. We're going to ticket you $10 because it's not up to code. You got 3 citations, so they're going to find a way to put their hand in your pocket. They just haven't figured it out yet.
Exactly.
If we get somebody that's currently watching this to go like apply for that job, then we're good to go. So don't worry about it.
Hey, listen, I'm in for it. I'm in for it. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a job right now, so if they have weekends off, I might have to join up. So that's good. Thank you for those questions. Another one. What about using credit to start Airbnbs? Is that a good idea? That's a good one.
Yeah, you could definitely leverage credit. I wouldn't say going all of this debt behind it if you're not going to be serious about the business. But with any business, definitely leveraging credit is really good. One of the things I leverage with my Airbnb is a Home Depot credit card. To do like the repairs and different things like that. So I did leverage that. Another thing that some people may not know, but you can leverage places like Aaron's and Rent-A-Center and stuff like that. The guy that mentored me, he actually had an account with Rent-A-Center because he had so many Airbnbs and bought so many things. He was able to get things at a very, very large discount and still put it on the 6 months same day as cash kind of thing. So it wasn't any added interest or anything like that. So you can get deals that are like 50 to 80% off on furniture, which that's something that I use to leverage as well. And, the more that you do it, you'll get more of those discounts because they have to move those items off the floor. And again, you don't want to go out and buy this brand new Ashley furniture and just spending tons and tons of money. You don't want to do that.
1,000%, 1,000%. And shout out to Carl. Thank you for being here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Carl and I actually met at the last seminar that actually Isaiah and I met at, and Keisha, we all presented at. Yeah. You're going to see Carl and I officially. Carl, we're going to meet up tomorrow. We're going to officially take that picture. Carl ready to sign up. Another businessman ready to go. So, and that's why we do this. Not necessarily to get people to sign up. I mean, yeah, of course, there's a business aspect to it, but there's so many people, and it's like everything else. I'm gonna keep leaning on this point, and we're gonna jump right back in with more game. Is that for $1,200? That's my sign-up fee. Keisha, your sign-up fee?
We have different packages for the classes.
Let's go minimum to highest. The
minimum is $8.99. The highest is $18, but that comes with a 1-year mentorship.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. That's
good. Isaiah, when I know we're revamping your thing. What were you charging for your subscription?
Oh, for a subscription? We'll talk about that later. I'm not too worried about that right now.
All right, but before.
Oh yeah, so I was charging people about $50 a week, give or take. I did a week by week basis because I knew that people, didn't really need to talk to me for a whole month or 2 months. They just need to talk to me for one good week, and then boom, they were out the door, ready to go. And
then there's a countless amount of money that they could make because you gave them one tip.
Yep.
You saved them $20,000 on this. If I was to buy 5 Airbnbs right now and I use Keisha's plug, saving 40% off of my furniture,
yep,
it might cost me $15,000 per Airbnb. That's $75,000. I might have just saved $37,500 because I gave her $800 or $1,800.
Yeah.
So what happens is people say, "How do I invest? How do I invest? How do I invest?" The biggest investment you can make is in yourself, and that means education.
Yep.
And that means, arbitraging, actually, almost. It works the same way. Like your time, right? Leveraging your time. So not doing certain things like mowing lawns. And, some of this might be new to some people. I don't mow my own lawn. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I pay what I pay, a nominal fee, but I don't have to worry about that every couple of weeks. I get to spend my time doing what I'm doing. I started this 20 years ago, 15 years ago, paying to have my laundry done. Because in New York, you got to stand by the machine, people steal your stuff. Da, da, da. You spend a whole Sunday, a whole Saturday, 6-7 hours washing clothes, where I could be out doing what I was doing. Me personally, back then, I was going and tutoring, so I was getting $100 an hour. I had 8 to 10 clients in a day, so I make $1,000 a day. Back in the days, tutoring math, instead of spending all day washing clothes.
Yeah.
It only costs like $10 more because it's the machine or whatever. You could pay them to fold it, and they actually did a better job because they're
Yeah.
professionals at washing clothes. So investing in yourself means paying other people to do things so that you have the time to go make your money, to go read the book you need to read, to go take the course you need to take. Oh, we're gonna start having think tanks at the Mind Molders Academy. Clients come free as part of your package, and anybody wants to join, and you could pay for a day pass. That's something else we're going to talk about. So you'll have Keisha in the room, you'll have Isaiah in the room, you'll have Carl in the room, you'll have all these other people doing all these things in one central location. Way better than college. So let's get back to it. I had a client the other day, and he was talking about. Oh, that's a good one. We're gonna answer this insurance one. Let's answer the insurance one first. While we got the question, either one y'all want to talk about the insurance on the long term or short term?
So I know that Airbnb offers, like, they call it air coverage or something like that. So they have effective, services available for people that host. And that was kind of the limitation of where I went. So I don't know what Keisha's got.
There aren't a lot of companies that will allow you to have like renters insurance on a sublease. It's difficult to get. The underwriting on that is just very difficult. I haven't been able to personally find a company that was reasonable enough for me to even want to deal with it. If you own your own property, yeah, you can get renters insurance or something to cover you. However, like Isaiah said, Airbnb does offer, I think it's like $1 million policy. I've used it several times. If they mess up a towel, I'm calling it in. I've had a bed broke where my husband was able to go and put some nails in it and fix it back, and they paid me full price for it. So they have that option. That's what I do love about Airbnb. VRBO, they have an insurance policy. I just never used it before. I don't think it's as much as Airbnb, but Airbnb offers that insurance. So in my opinion, I don't see the point of spending unnecessary money if they're going to cover it.
Right.
Sounds good. There's a lot of gems being dropped. So I want to give you another gem. As always, we move away from the check system, but we could tally it up. But I found out this one. This is another good gem for y'all. So, I do burst strategy, right? Buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat, run it up.
Yep.
I have a client who only does Airbnbs. Keisha, as soon as we're done tonight, tomorrow, I'm going to connect you with him.
Okay.
He might be on. If you're on here, Pat, you can say what's up. If not, I'm going to connect y'all tomorrow. I knew we were going to meet today, and I was crazy busy today. So anyway, that being said, he has equity in several properties. Okay. I ain't going to put all his business out there, but let's just say for conversation, he has a $500,000 fourplex. He has $300,000 equity in it. Okay? So what that means is that the bank will allow him to pull 80 cents on the dollar or $240,000 out. Well, guess what? All of his units are Airbnb. Bank don't like that. So the bank said they're only going to give him 70 cents on the dollar, which means he just lost $30 in equity that he could pull. And they want him to put payments in advance in escrow to pay his mortgage, because the chance that the Airbnbs won't be rented, damaged, the insurance is higher. So there's all these hidden costs now and opportunity costs. Because what I could do with 30 grand in a year, flipping that, yada, yada, yada,
right?
Tax breaks, I might be able to triple that in a year. He can't do it because he's choosing to do Airbnb. Something I learned yesterday, didn't know it. Knew it from another situation where we had a vacancy, but I didn't really put it together. But you got to think, banks want to hedge their risks, especially right now. with everything going on. So he could end up with a higher rate. They definitely wanted more reserves. They wanted an escrow payment for the mortgage, and they cut his equity that he could cash out on 10%. Now let's talk if it was $1 million in equity. That's $100,000 he can't pull.
Right. That's good information. I didn't know that either. The only thing that I've heard of, seen, I would say, the gentleman that mentored me with Airbnb. This was about 3 years ago. The market was, pretty good. And in that area, fourplexes was going about 180,000. Well, he was able to sell his Airbnb for 350. I'm sorry, sell the fourplex for 350 because he had the Airbnb in there. So I didn't know about the taking the equity out. So that is definitely a big difference between the two.
Yeah.
And you're taking a risk on either side.
Yeah, one thing just to make sure, because I don't want to make it seem like I'm leaning one way or the other. This is, if you listen, there's pros and cons on both sides.
Yeah, for sure.
Long-term rentals, you have things that can happen, like somebody in, because I know we're in Texas, but Isaiah, if you want, you could weigh in on Arizona, maybe even Colorado, because you were out there. Keisha, if you want to talk about Arkansas, I know the East Coast. I know I'm from New York. So I could tell you New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. I just talked to one of my partners who actually, we'll run it up later, but I'll tell y'all right now. He just called me today. Yeah, one of our tenants owes us $36,000 in rent. She ain't paid us rent in like 3 years. We're not even sweating it. Don't be like me. Don't be like me. But I'm gonna tell you why if you want later. But we're not even sweating it. We haven't even checked the account balance in like 2 years. He's like, yeah, it's up to 36,000. I was like, yeah, let's evict it when you're ready. Let me know. That's a different kind. I've been doing this 20 years. But I say all that to say that every state ain't like Texas. Every county ain't like Killeen, where evictions are 30 to 45 days. So one of the things that could happen with the long-term renter is that they play the professional renter game like Philadelphia. Y'all want that Philly game? I'll give you the Philly game. You got to register every apartment. So what professional tenants do is they don't let you come in and do your inspection. They don't let you do the lead inspection. They don't do whatever, because to register, you got to have this form called the habitability paperwork. If you don't have every check on that, it's not habitable. The tenant doesn't have to pay you rent.
Oh, wow.
And then with the courts being closed and all these things with COVID, yada, yada, people were backlogged 2 years.
Wow.
Hey, they never gave me the habitability. No rent. I have whole buildings. I ain't going to get off on that tangent. But so there's a lot of things that can happen with a tenant too, depending, California, tenant-friendly states, where you can't get rid of somebody. So there's a lot. And I'm going to give y'all some free game too on this on Airbnb if y'all didn't know this. So never, ever rent on an Airbnb to somebody more than 30 days. Keisha, you know about this?
Give me a minute, because I heard something similar to that. Because you will have to give them a lease.
Right. So what happens is, if they wanted to stay 60 days, run it up for 30 days or run it up for 25 days, start a new one, run it up for 25 days, run up the last one for 10. Because once somebody goes over 30 days, if they decide that they don't want to leave, you don't have a real lease with them. And then it's no longer an eviction, it's an ejection. And an ejection is comparable to being married and trying to kick your spouse out of the house.
Right, because you can't force anybody into homelessness either.
It's a totally different process monetarily. It's a whole different game. So here goes what we got. Everybody got their last chance to ask questions. We're at 54 minutes. I'm going to let y'all share all y'all information, your sign-off information. Nova, queue up next week, because I really want to build up next week. Everybody's going to want to see next week. So we're going to start with Isaiah. Where can they find you? Where can they follow you?
So follow me on Instagram.
Right on cue, his thing goes. You ready? Yeah. How can they find you? How can they follow you?
So find me on Instagram, M5_Lee, right? I'm a big car guy. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at right now.
Okay. And when you follow him, we'll update the links on this where you can follow everything else that he got going on. Keisha, how can they follow you?
You can follow me on Facebook and also Instagram under Coaching Your Greatness. Is spelled exactly, just is correct. No grammatical changes. So it's Coaching Your Greatness. And then my website is coachingyourgreatness.com. And you can get all the information as far as the Airbnb mentorship program and the 6 weeks mastermind as well.
All right. Thank you for that. You can also see Keisha in person at our next event, right, in June. No, we want to bring that one up one more time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thursday, June 8th. Come out and see us. You're going to get all the game, get to meet in person. I'm sure Lee will be out there as well. We got all types of stuff lined up. So now, with that being said, we're going to talk about our season finale. This is the big boy. I'm building this one up because it's going to be important. I've been looking forward to this for like 5 or 6 weeks. So we did credit versus cash like 4 or 5 weeks ago, right? So the gentleman who's in that picture, Nova, you want to bring it up? The gentleman who's on the cash side is my mentor. I'm bringing him out public. He don't take pictures, nothing. He said, how could you say credit, yada, yada, yada. He's real old school. Y'all gonna watch him be the most entertaining one ever, I think. Because we argue all day. We could talk 5 or 6 hours. This is the gentleman that's in the book Fear, Prince. This is the dude, not that he got me started, just like Keisha. Like, I didn't get Keisha started. Keisha was winning already. We got together. She took it to another level. Stopped working with me officially, like, whatever. And did her own thing, went through the roof. That's what you're supposed to do. People are supposed to win without you. If people got to stay up under you, you ain't doing it right. You're not a good coach. This dude brought me into Philly when he didn't have to. All the story I spent, all the money on the Rolex and the Beamer and yada, yada, and I didn't have, that's him. I'm 20 years in the game. This dude's 30, 35 years in the game. And we about to fight it tooth and nail, damn near to the death. We're going to argue cash versus credit. And I'm going to tell you who's going to win. You see who got the crown on. I'm calling you out. I'm taking all the shots today. Like, I can't wait for this one. There's going to be no introduction, no commercial, nothing. We're going to run it on the bottom. We're going to have a full hour of just him and I going back and forth. And when I set the rules, y'all going to see. Because cash is dead. On that one, I'm taking a stance. Y'all not going to want to miss that one. And there's going to be a tremendous amount of gems dropped on that one because this dude, forget about it. So with that being said, is there anything else y'all want to talk about? Any other questions? I don't see no more questions. Y'all want to shout anybody else out? Anything like that? Hold on, let me see. Do you also promote the traveling nurses and other businesses on other platforms?
Yes, I use other platforms that specifically geared towards traveling nurses.
There you go. We got the new algorithm. Y'all want to talk about the new algorithm? Anything like that?
I'm not hip to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a guy on my team. He's into algorithms. Honestly, I look at the numbers and I just kind of fluctuate my stuff. I've been going steady for the last 2 years, so I haven't had any major issues with the algorithms. For me, it's just mainly just being active with your page. It's kind of like Facebook and Instagram. If you're not active, then your stuff don't show up on those first 2 pages. So you really just have to be active. But I don't know anything about it affecting like luxury apartments and different things of that nature.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything.
With that being said, shout out to everybody who tuned in. Shout out to everybody who's waiting for us backstage. That's the best part of doing this, knowing that y'all ready for this information. Shout out to everybody that's about to watch this. Shout out to everybody that's about to buy a house or arbitrage just to do Airbnb or long-term rentals. I appreciate both of y'all for being here.
Absolutely.
I'm about to go watch this Lakers game.
Hey.
Let's go. I didn't get to change. I was ready. I had my Lakers. But I know. We were just on 400, right? So
wait, you're a Lakers fan?
Crazy.
I'm a LeBron fan. So yes, I'm a Lakers
fan. Okay, you're a LeBron fan. Guy, yeah. I'm like, you're from New York. You're not like a Knicks fan?
No, I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan. But yeah. Nets and wherever LeBron's at, that's where I'm gonna be. So,
Gotcha.
So with that being said, thank you again, everybody. We out of here. Peace.
Peace, you guys.